It was a good race that he was second in, and then he went to Newbury in a small field, finished just behind Sam Burton, but the run of the race didn't suit him that day.
L'Electrician was your winner. Carlisle from Mike Smith and Ryan Manny. The stewards are having an inquiry there. More about that to follow if we hear if anything. But stewards inquiry, provisional result on screen as they circle down here at the start. Rattle out a few more.
It's wide open. I think Feevel's got a very good chance. The horse that Dave's put up as well. You know, he has had a couple of non-completions over fences, so I suppose you don't want him to hit fences. Of course, he's got that in him, but I've been impressed with him when he's completed on his 2 starts for Stuart Edmonds. That win was very easy at Wetherby, 3 runs back. Then he went to Sandown. He stuck at it really well. Tough jumping track, pretty soft ground that day. He saw his race out really well up the hill, which told me something different about him, I suppose, because he'd hardly had to come off the bridle to win his race at Wetherby prior to that. And I do think that this track and test will suit him, providing that he puts in a good round of jumping. Feevel, I think he's got more to offer. There's plenty of these with chances. The bottom horse, Jeffrey's Cross, has found his way to favouritism. He was beaten a long way last time we saw him, but he's been given a break since then. And the horse that left him behind at Fontwell was Cooler Valor, who has gone on to win plenty more handicap chases. He's had a really progressive season, so there was no shame in that, really. And although he was beaten 19 lengths by Cool Valor, he was right with him for a long way. And as I say, maybe he shaped better than the 19 length distance he was beaten suggests anyway.
Okay, we're catching up time in card.
Coming in, they're off. Jump away promptly for this Cavani.co.uk Challenger Staying Chase Series final. Several vying for the early lead. Sam Barton on the near side. Up amongst the pace setters was one of the greys, Frenchy Delage, and they emerge as the leading pair with now a couple of circuits ahead of them. On card towards the inner in the dark green and white, his hand. He drops into about 4th. 3rd place just shaded by Feevel in the yellow and blue. Morning Spirit, maroon and white up between horses. And then Jeffrey's Cross, very pale jacket, pink and blue spots, white cap in midfield. He's got another of the greys, Tide Times on his inner, and I See You Well right down at the running rail in a sheepskin noseband. Tim Pat, the blue cap, is circling them, followed by Neon Moon, the red cap for jockey change, Brendan Powell. One True King in a multicoloured jacket has got a couple behind as they head on down the far side. Ladron among them with Small Present and Planned Paradise, yellow jacket, the early back marker. They run slightly downhill approaching the second. Frenchy Delage is getting away in front, lands 3 or 4 lengths ahead of the pursuers. Tide Times made quite a serious mistake there, and Charlie Todd briefly lost one of his stirrups. Has quickly regained it in midfield. Purple jacket as they go on towards the 3rd. Watching them all streak neatly enough over that with Small Present, the orange cap, and Planned Paradise, the final 2 as they reach the midpoint in the back straight for the first time. Frenchy Delage now taken on by Feevel and Sam Barton, who jumped up well between the leading pair. On card on the near side of Morning Spirit as they head on towards the penultimate fence in the back straight for the first time. Another plain one. Frenchy Delage to Sam Barton, the white cap, a close second. Feevel out wide. And then Morning Spirit and On card as they close in on the first of the ditches. Jeffrey's Cross in the cheek pieces, pale pink jacket in midfield, rising just ahead of Neon Moon, I See You Well, Tim Pat out deep. Then One True King to Tide Times, Ladron with a green cap. 2 behind, Small Present 3 or 4 lengths further back in the field. And Planned Paradise, who made 1 or 2 niggly little mistakes over on the far side first time, is a further 3 lengths away last of the 14-strong field, and about 20 lengths off the leader, Frenchy Delage, who turns into the last 2 miles and moves on towards fence 7. Ahead of Sam Barton on card towards the far side. Feevel, yellow and blue jacket on their near side. Tracked by Morning Spirit. Then I See You Well in a sheepskin noseband. Jeffrey's Cross out wide to Neon Moon, red cap, centre field. Tim Pat was the next over from One True King. It's just beginning to thin out a little further in behind. Moving on towards another open ditch, the second of the 4 fences up the Haydock Straight. Ladron is still weighted with towards the left in the last group of 4, with the grey Tide Times recovering after that early error. And then Small Present and Planned Paradise a little detached. Fence 9 brings them to the end of their first circuit. Frenchy Delage jumping soundly. Planned Paradise again the last to land. And they now head up towards the 10th before one more circuit. Frenchy Delage Feeble on the near side of Morning Spirit, far side on card. Sam Barton still back there. And there, Frenchy Delage didn't respond with a good jump. He was asked up and he put down. It was a good recovery. Didn't seem to halt his momentum, but he hit it halfway up. He still leads with Feeble on the near side of Morning Spirit. Jeffrey's Cross Pink Jacket, the shadow to Sam Barton on card, poking up on their inner. Tim Pat, the blue cap, patiently ridden in midfield, ahead of I See You Well and Neon Moon. And then Ladron to One True King in a multicoloured jacket in advance of Tide Times. Small Present, the orange cap, remains last but one. And Planned Paradise, who's been a little bit chancy at times, has always been in the final position. He'll be no more than 10 or 12 lengths, though, now off the leader, Frenchy Delage, as they begin a downhill run towards the first the fences in the back straight once again. And it's now fence 11. So the grey Frenchy Delage picking up just ahead of Feeble, who remains handy. Harder work, though, for Planned Paradise at the back of the field, now being ridden along. Briefly, Tim Pat in midfield. Blue cap towards the far side was squeezed up. Another plain fence, the 12th. Frenchy Delage tickling the top. Landing just ahead of Feeble. Jeffrey's Cross slipstreaming he. Morning Spirit, maroon and white close up. Then on card on the near side. Neon Moon with a red cap is getting a little bit closer to them. On card, missed out there. Put down on it. Cost him a few lengths and a few positions in the process. Ladron is beginning to make some headway. Out widest of all, the green cap, as they go to 6 from home. Frenchy Delage to Feeble, and then Jeffrey's Cross in the cheek pieces. Neon Moon, red cap, Brendan Powell continuing to pick them off. On card, bustled back up after that error. Then Morning Spirit, Tim Pat and Ladron out wide as they clear the open ditch at the end of the back straight. To One True King, Small Present, Sam Barton has weakened away. I See You Well in the noseband, struggling, so too Planned Paradise. And Tide Times is last of all as they begin the run back towards home. The final half mile and the last 4 fences. Frenchy Delage and Feeble, they've been the leading pair for quite some time now. Jeffrey's Cross in third is latched on, just bustled up to mount a challenge. 3 or 4 lengths away to Neon Moon, the red cap, fourth on straightening ahead of Morning Spirit. Ladron's effort looks to be petering out. Then on card, Tim Pat. Away to the extreme left, Planned Paradise has begun to pick off 1 or 2 of the stragglers. Yellow Jacket, Frenchy Delage over the fourth last ahead of Feeble. Jeffrey's Cross is still chasing. These 3 remain a little way clear of Ladron, Tim Pat, Planned Paradise, Morning Spirit and Neon Moon. They're closing in on the third last. Sam Barton has pulled up. It was Frenchy Delage by 2 or 3 lengths on landing. Jeffrey's Cross is now chasing. Looks like Feeble is beginning to empty. His stride is shortening, and now 2 of them break away. Approaching the second last. Still Frenchy Delage, the gutsy grey, but Jeffrey's Cross is now right at his quarters. On card, meanwhile, has pulled up. Neon Moon has pulled up, and Jeffrey's Cross now moves through to Frenchy Delage as they approach the 19th and final fence. Jeffrey's Cross powering on, jumped it well, landed 4 lengths ahead. Frenchy Delage has run an honourable race, but he's got nothing more to offer, and it's Jeffrey's Cross staying on strongly on the run to the line, and it's more big race success for Harry and Dan Skelton. Jeffrey's Cross runs out a comfortable winner from Frenchy Delage. Ladron in third, then Tim Pat, Morning Spirit, Planned Paradise, Feeble, One True King, Small Present got round, and then I See You Well.
We saw it in the first race, but for horse rate 112 to grab a £50,000 race. Whatever way you slice and dice, it's good training. Jeffrey's Cross wins for Dan and Harry Skelton.
Yeah, and he's done it well in the end. He's been a little bit more patiently ridden, just tucking in behind them. Came under pressure before 1 or 2. Feeble and Frenchy Delage sort of kicked on, but he was always just a little bit in behind them, but he found an awful lot more off the bridle than some of the other rivals in the race, and he's seen it out really strongly. He's won it in the manner of a horse that is all about stamina, really, hasn't he? But I think ground conditions were obviously very suitable for him. They'd given him a good freshen up since we last saw him. That's no bad thing when you get to this point of the season.
You're going to laugh at me what I'm going to say next.
The Sandown race?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't.
Bet 365, no weight.
Yeah, if he gets in.
If he gets in, with the way the race has been the last few years, he'd get in.
Yeah. No, it's not a silly idea at all. It'd suit him, wouldn't it? You know, drying ground and a stamina test, and that's what he's had today. Frenchy Delage has run a screamer in second, and he's gone swinging along for a long way, travelled really well, jumped better than sometimes, and you can't knock his efforts at all. But in the end, it's an unexpected